They say it's a big rich town, and I just come from the poorest part. What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's show, The Startup Junkie. I'm your host, AJ. And of course, today we are touching on a very, very controversial topic. And yes, it is still the 5 days of business, and this is day 2. And how I approach business is a little bit different, okay? But first and foremost, let me just say this. If you're watching this message and you feel like it can resonate with someone that you know, an entrepreneur, a current business owner, or entrepreneur, someone that's actually looking to start their business and bring their value to the world, definitely share this message, as we are multi-streaming across a bunch of different platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. And we are also sharing with you via our podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, iHeart Media, as well as TuneIn. Now, like I said, day 2 today. And we are going to address something a little bit different than your average business, quote unquote, course when someone is teaching you how to do business. And I'm only saying this because I've had tons of experience with this, and I know what certain schools teach their students and what other schools do not. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. So I really need you to chime in and share this message and take some damn notes, okay? And I'm not being condescending here. I'm really being serious about this, because this is some good stuff, okay? This is some good stuff. But let me give you some context, okay? The name of this show, this is day 2 of 5 days of learning business. Now, yesterday I introduced you to the silos or the silos, departments that every business should have, from marketing to research and development, to finance, to value delivery, having some kind of value delivery system, etc. But today I'm going to address, in day 2, the mindset and understanding understanding how organizations work, and the really diabolical ness, if that's a word, behind business, and how you need to protect yourself as an entrepreneur. So if you're watching this right now, I see there's some people in the room. Definitely chime in, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Also, please drop a comment in the commented section, because I want to acknowledge you. Now, I started off by saying or singing, or at least humming, "It's a Big Rich Town," and I shared some books with you. These books I am going to talk about, and I have some context for you, like I said, and here we go. Now, when I first started business school, all right, the very first book I read in my first master's program and in my MBA program, the very first book in organizational behavior that we were required to read at Boston as well as University of Massachusetts was The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. Some people say Niccolo Machiavelli. Some people just say Machiavelli. And of course, all you old hip hop heads out there, you'll know that Tupac actually named his last album The Seventh Day Theory, Machiavelli. So there is a reason why, okay? There is a reason for today's topic, and there is a reason why business students are required to read The Prince by Machiavelli. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share what the book looks like, okay? This is The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli, all right? And I'm going to share with you what the theme of the 3 major themes of the book, and here they are: lies and deceit, manipulation, which is 1, violence, and which is the second theme, violence is, and respect and reputation. Again, I'm going to say the three major themes in The Prince by Machiavelli is lies and deceit, manipulation, violence, and respect and reputation. So why am I sharing that with you? All right. So the reason why I'm sharing that with you, because part of business organization course, organization, understanding culture and stuff, they literally teach you how to coerce people in business, right? Within the company and outside of the company. And a lot of business programs think that reading this book is actually the perfect book to read. Now, just to give you even more context, when you're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, it's important to understand the games that people play. Now, outside of reading that book, The Prince, as I got into business and as more books came out, these other books were suggested. In fact, there is not one person that I know that that runs his or her own business that has not read Power by Robert Greene. Now, specifically, these are the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And why should you read this book? Why? Wait a minute. Why? Wait a minute. I said it again. Why? Wait a minute. The reason why you should read this book, and this is actually the CDs. Someone has my book, honestly, but because I always have access to audio, this is what I listen to. The 48 Laws of Power basically gives you historical context of how so many leaders have been, one, manipulated, two, have actually faced death and have died and have lost wars purely based on manipulation and deceit. All right? And how you in business should not fall for manipulation and deceit, and how you should know your place in business and know when to reveal your hand. In other words, knowing how to have a very, very good poker face and knowing how to play your hand when it's time to play your hand. Now, the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, first and foremost, Robert Greene has written several books. I actually like his book with 50 Cent called The 50th Law. Okay, the 50th Law is all about how 50 Cent and his coming up to become successful uses fearlessness as the main driver of his success. Now, the 48 Laws of Power, and I highly recommend this. You go out and get this book. It begins by talking about power. Rule number one, law number one, never outshine the master. Now, I'm not going to go through the book, but I will say this. Never outshine the master. How many times have you been friends with someone, right? And I'm just giving you an example of what's in the book, and you have maybe done better than they did on, say, a test, right? Or maybe you have a talent for something that they would love to have a talent for, but your talent tends to shine through, right? And maybe this person started to dislike you for whatever reason. Well, it was because you were outshining them. Have you ever been on a job where there was a boss who basically did not like you for whatever reason, and that reason is because maybe you were young, maybe you were pretty, maybe you were handsome, maybe you had a talent that the boss did not have. Maybe supervisors above your boss was looking to you to actually do something. You're outshining the master, okay? That is law number one, all right? And I'm just giving you an example of the type of stuff that's actually in the book. So if you want to know how to move in a room full of vultures, as Jay-Z says, then you definitely need to read the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Now, remember, this is day 2 of everything you need to know about business, but this particular show is understanding the mindset of not only yourself and where you should be to protect yourself, but the mindset of those who will seek to destroy you. All right? So, 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I definitely highly recommend that you read the book. Now, the next book in understanding power and the manipulation of people is Robert Beck's Pimp. Okay? A lot of you guys know Robert Beck as Iceberg Slim. All right? Now, I'm taking you back to the 70s on this one. All right? First and foremost, let me just acknowledge a couple of people in the room. Hey, Renee, thank you for checking out the show. Paris, thank you for checking out the show. Be sure to share this information with some people that you believe that it can actually help. Now, back to Iceberg Slim. Now, as a kid, I knew about this. I knew about Robert Beck's books, all of his books, from Death Wish to Mama Black Widow, The Naked Soul of Iceberg Slim. Actually, that was the first book I read. But in all of his books, it's not about being a quote-unquote pimp, so to speak, which, by the way, this particular author actually influenced so many rappers to kind of be quote-unquote, kind of pimping, especially people like Snoop Dogg, a comedian Cat Williams. These books influenced him. But let me tell you who these books, the books from Robert Beck, also influence. They also influence guys on Wall Street. And you might be saying, guys on Wall Street? Yeah. All right, guys on Wall Street. All right, so let me share my screen with you here, and I'm gonna show you, okay? This guy right here. All right? This guy right here. There is a company called London Real. Now, London Real is actually ran by Brian Rose. In the 80s, Brian Rose was a uber successful stockbroker on Wall Street. And in an interview, I actually heard Brian Rose say that all of his friends that worked on the trading floor all read Pimp. And it was like, well, why did they all read Pimp? Well, they all read Pimp purely based on the fact that Robert Beck, in his depiction of pimp life, in his depiction of street life, the gutter life, really went into detail and explained the manipulation of people and how vices, such as women, such as drugs, such as whatever your vice is used to control and manipulate outcomes. In other words, you know as well as I do, you've seen tons of movies where someone was on the rise, and to get them in trouble, they were introduced to what? Or to blackmail them or whitemail them, however you want to look at it. They were introduced to either women, which is sex, and drugs, or money. All right? Sex, drugs, and money. In other words, manipulating them using their vices. And that's what this book does. So how does that apply to you as a business person? As a business person, it should simply tell you that people will come at you for your weaknesses. They will come at you via your weaknesses. If they know you love going to a strip club, they will invite you to a strip club. If they know that you love doing drugs, they will give you drugs. This is how it is. This is real life shit I'm sharing with you today. And yes, this is a business lesson. This is part 2. This is all about getting your mind right, because you can do everything perfect in business. But guess what? If you can be manipulated, okay, if you can be led astray, then your business won't be successful. So, sure, I can give you the pragmatic functions of business, right? The steps you should take, but your mind has to be right. Which, by the way, tomorrow we are addressing time management, because so many of us plan and we fail to follow up on our plans. And I'm going to offer some time management strategies that will actually hold you accountable. That's just a side note or a promotion for tomorrow's show. Now, I appreciate Maxine. Thank you for checking in. Yeah, so true. It is. Thank you, Paris, again. So anyway, read this book, Pimp. All right. You don't want to fall for vices. Okay. You don't want to be a victim of your own circumstance, meaning things that you could have controlled, because I can't tell you, I watch Unsung. Okay. Unsung on TV One. Think about all of the shows on Unsung and what they actually led to, right? I mean, all the successful singers, what it led to was them either getting on drugs or being manipulated by something. All right. So do not be manipulated. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If you're manipulated, you're off track. All right. So definitely read. And this book is a classic, right? Read this book by Robert Beck, Iceberg Slim, Pimp. All right. Now, yeah, I love Unsung too, Paris. All right. So here's the next book I'm recommending that you read. Now, this book may be a little bit hard to get. This book was given to me by an old friend, and I'm taking you back here because this book was first published in May 29, the 29th of May, 1964. It is, and I know some of you guys out there will disagree, Malcolm X, By Any Means Necessary. And you might be saying, AJ, why are you recommending Malcolm X? I'm not a Muslim. No, it's not about being a Muslim, okay? It doesn't matter what what you call yourself as far as, what your religious preference is. It doesn't matter. But what this book is a series of speeches, interviews by Malcolm X, okay? And through the reading of this book, you learn so much about inner fortitude, okay? And you learn how to deal with the snakes that might come at you. So you got to get your mind right for the people that come at you that will try to hamper and just put down what it is you're trying to do. So I got I learned a great number of lessons from Malcolm X's By Any Means Necessary. Yes, this is an old book. This is a classic. It might be worth some money. But I mean, it's worth more than money to me because of the lessons that are in it. You know what I mean? So again, think about all of the people that come at you trying to manipulate you and the stress that it creates, especially when you are trying to 100% move quietly so people, one, can't disrupt what it is that you're trying to do, and two, you're trying to learn how to deal with the stress, especially with those people that you consider friends, and then you find out that they're not friends. Okay, so definitely check out this book here. All right, so my last book. Okay, so I gave you a little doom and gloom. Yes, I understand. I gave you manipulation. I gave you Machiavelli. I gave you power. I gave you Pimp. And I gave you Malcolm X. This book is definitely something that this is a book you should read. And I've recommended this book before, all right? This is the last book, okay? And this book has sold millions and originally came out in 1936, okay? This book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, let me explain to you why I'm giving you, which almost seems like it's completely different from the other books. But at the same time, it's not. Because when you're trying to win friends, saying the right things, doing the right things to win favor from friends, to win that contract, to build that business relationship with people, what are you doing? You're back to manipulating people. So I'm not saying that this book is about manipulation, but it's about moving in your best interest to win friends and influence people to your favor. So this is a book that I highly recommend. I read this book at least 5 times. Yes, This is a new copy of this book. Why? Because I have worn out the other copies. I just had to get a hard copy of a hardcover copy of this book. So now, yes, mindset is everything. And I hope today I've shared something with you about playing the game of power, understanding coercion, understanding how people will try to manipulate you by using your vices against you to bring you down. But at the same time, how you have to know how to win friends and influence people to help your business situation grow. All right. Oh, man. You're right, Yolanda. Mindset is everything. It's a key component, and it is absolutely 100% everything. So, your host of the Startup Junkie, AJ, humbly ask you to consider Power by Robert Greene, Pimp by Iceberg Slim, By Any Means Necessary, if you can get a copy of it, by Malcolm X, and lastly, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. 1936, 80 plus years ago, still true today. Right. And I humbly ask you to share this post. If you feel like what I'm sharing with you today can, benefit someone that you know, definitely share it. If you feel like what I'm sharing with you today resonates in a way that you know it's not just about setting up a business. It's about understanding the mindset of people, right? It's about the person, the good guy, not always winning because the good guy is playing by rules that were never designed for him to win. But does it make you a bad person to understand the game of power? I'll leave you with this. And the answer is no. Every person innately will try to influence you to their favor. What do children do? They cry when they can't have something. They throw a fit, right? Did you teach them to do that? Maybe they picked it up, or maybe it's innate in them. I believe it's innate for all of us to look out for our best interests, okay? Now, it does not mean that your best interests cannot benefit others. And that's all I'm saying. So look out for the best interests of whatever business it is that you're trying to build, because you're in business to deliver value to the world. Please share this message. I'm AJ, your host of the Startup Junkie, and tomorrow we're going to talk about time management, because what's all this planning if at the end of the day you don't execute? I'm going to have 5 time management tips for you tomorrow. The same thing that I used the strategies I used to get 3 degrees in 7 years. 3 degrees in 7 years. Take care.